Right? Motivate the children to want to achieve success. Now, one of the things at School 10 that we push big time is mediocrity has no place at School 10. Everything that we do there has to be done in an excellent manner. And if it's not done in an excellent manner, they hear about it. Oh, Mr. Medley, he always did. But if it's, we're going to have excellence or not. Mediocrity has no place in School 10. In the morning, at 8, if you come to my building in the mornings between 8:30 and 8:40, you better come in there with a magazine or a book. Because everything on that silent reading time stops. Not even the fish in the aquarium move. Everything stops at School 10 between 8:30 and 8:40. Everybody from the custodians to the nurse to the security team, the food services team, the secretaries, myself. And I sit right there on the top step with my book. And I sit there and read. And it's not district material. I read novels and books of my choosing during that 10 minutes. And Mr. McDowell knows, because he came there one day like at 8:32, and I said, "Get your book." And my I did. We had the math department, Ed Korsnick. He came at, "Ed, get your book." Dr. Evans could walk in, and Dr. Evans, get your book. President Obama could walk in. Because during that time frame, I feel that reading is that important that everyone in there must model and they must do it. And that building is so quiet in there, you would think, the janitor came to me this morning. He said, I have to apologize because during silent reading time, I was moving upstairs on the 3rd floor. But the good news is I didn't hear a peep. One day we had a kid that vomited on the floor, and I called him. I said, "Chief, you're going to have to come up." He said, "But I'm silent reading." I said, "Chief, this is one time I got to override it." The kid vomited on the floor. I really do need to get up here. All right. But that's the culture that we have there now. That if we're going to do, and talk about and when we talk excellence and wanting to achieve, we start things on time. Last night, I left the Ed Connect for the parents. Our meeting will be starting 5:30 promptly. When that clock hit on that big hand on the 6, little hand on the 5, I was up at the podium. Because my thinking is this: you get left by that train enough times, you'll get there on time. You miss your flight enough, you'll get to the airport on time. So once they start figuring, because and I'm saying this because even in the morning, during that 8:30 time, kid that comes in, because school starts at 8:20. At that point, they're on the playground. The teachers take them upstairs. They go to class. Now, there are some kids that come through the front door. Now, that's cool between 8:20 and 8:29. Once 8:30 comes, they go sit in the auditorium, and they're given a book. And they stay there until after the morning announcements where they're given a late pass. I'm not playing. I'm really not. Because we're going to do things with excellence, and that all goes into motivating folks to want to be successful. So now they're to the point when I see the kids coming up at like 8:31, they just know. I'm in the auditorium, Mr. Medley. And they go sit down. And I just sit there with my book going like this, pointing them on into the auditorium. Everything, and what's happening is we've incorporated over there not only word of the day. I have, in my morning announcements, even though it takes about 5 to 10 minutes, there's a lot in there. I have kids, because all my teachers are coming to me telling me their kids can't multiply. So guess what? During the morning announcements, every morning somebody's doing one of the multiplications. This morning we'll do the 1 times table. 1 times 1 equal 1. 1 times 2 equal 2. 1 times 3 equal 3. We're going all the way up. We have the occupation and career choice of the day. Because most of our kids, the only thing they know to be is a basketball player, football player, Beyonce, a doctor, a lawyer. They have no idea that there are careers such as biochemist, careers such as astrophysicist, careers such as web page designer, careers such as farm engine mechanic. So every morning there's a different career that's read during the morning announcements for them to think about. Motivating them to want to achieve. You know what? I can be that. I'm interested in it. I'm good at that. That's what I want to be. So the parents need to, at the same time, be motivating their children at home. Baby, yes, you can be that. If you want to be a basketball player, that's fine. But understand you need to have a backup plan in case you blow your knee out. Okay? So I'm not discouraging kids from being basketball players or football players. I'm not. What I am encouraging them to do is get their education in the event that they don't make the NFL or the NBA. And the parents need to be doing the same thing. That's what you encourage your parents to. Yes, baby, you can be whatever it is that you want to be. Kind of what we just talked about. Mediocrity has no place. Everything has to be done in an excellent manner. In the homes, there is nothing wrong with these children having chores. Responsibility. My first car, at the time I was a custodian at Eastside High School, because during the years that I was going to college at William Patterson, I went to William Patterson during the day. I was a custodian at Eastside at night. And I bought my first car. It was a 1975 Monte Carlo. It cost $1,500. My father gave me the $1,500. Every payday, 15th and 30th, I gave him $60 until that $1,500 was paid off. Showed me responsibility. There's nothing wrong with helping these kids understand how life works. How to be responsible. Back to that whole bullet point about the getting themselves out of a situation, empowering them to be in a situation. Same thing. Don't accept pants hanging down, coming in any old kind of way, hat turned. I just do not understand why when baseball caps were designed, they were designed with the bill to be worn forward. And some of the ways that I've seen caps worn, if mine was close to me, I'd model them, is ridiculous. To the side, to the this way, to the that way. Same thing with pants. I tell my kids, what is it? Do you want me to see your underwear? Is that what it is? Is it that you want me to know that you have on Hanes? Is it that you want me to know that they're Kanye or whoever, Fruit of the Looms? I'm coming across the bridge one day down there at River Street. And the kid runs up to my car. Would you like to donate to my team at the Y? Pants hanging down. I said, I might, but with your pants hanging down like that, does the Y want you representing them like that? So he says, oh, my bad. Pulls them up. So now I said, okay, I'll tell you what. Yeah, I will donate to you. I'll donate to the cause, but do me a favor, just to help this old man out, just to help me out. Why do you have your pants down like that? I don't know. You don't know? You have your pants down here like that and you don't know. And I said, son, let me help you understand something. I could have taken any other answer from you other than I don't know. If you'd have told me, sir, I want the establishment to kiss my tail, I would have took that. If you would have said, sir, I want you to see my underwear, I would have taken that. Sir, but anything else, then I don't know. Which tells me you're following a fad and you don't even know why you're following it. You're following a style and you don't even question, you don't even know why. So after I finished, I gave him the $1 and I pull off, I look in my rearview mirror, sure enough, he's now. We can challenge these kids. These kids, believe it or not, they do want discipline. Everybody's so afraid. Oh, I won't say nothing to them. Oh, we got parents afraid to say something to their children. That's your role in terms of helping. Yes, ma'am, you can talk to your child. Yes, you can encourage your child. I had a parent come in and see, one thing I love about doing these workshops is I get a chance to share true stories. They're not made up. You cannot make up the things that happen in education. You just can't. Had a parent come in, she had like 6 kids with her, 6 little kids, all of them little. What happened was her son had stolen a cell phone out of one of the teacher's bags. Took it home, hid it under the bed. So now she calls the phone, it rings, they pick it up, and the mother says, yes, it's here, and the teacher goes to get it. So now I find out, I said, well, I'm sorry, that kid's getting 5 days. That's stealing. And she comes into my office, she carried on. He's just a kindergartner, 5 days. I said, ma'am, that's stealing. So she goes on to say, he does that at home. He steals from my pocketbook. And I said, And when I go in stores, I have to take stuff back to the stores because my kids take. I said, ma'am, let me help you understand something. These kids are going to have you in jail. That's the first thing. So then she tries to pawn off the act on the littlest child, the child that doesn't even go to school yet. She says, well, it wasn't him, it was his little brother. And I said, well, how did he get in the classroom? If you're coming to pick up the child, how did he get in there to be able to do that? Oh, he just runs away from me. I don't know what to do. So I said, she was standing in front of me. I came from around my desk. I said, I do. And I went over to her, And I took her hand. I said, you hold his hand. Simple. So she carried on, called me all kinds of names, this, that, and the other. Long and the story is, the boy still got his 5 days because she tried to point it off on the little one, and the teacher came in with her bag, and they tried to tell the little one, go show how you did it. Little one's looking at her like, what are you talking about? Now the kid that really had done it, when we said, okay, go show us how, he walked over to her bag, he unzipped it, took the phone out, showed us exactly how he did it. Bless you. So the mama called me ignorant, called me all kinds of names. You can call me what you want to call me. The 5 days stands because that's stealing. And I want some kind of paper that says it will not ruin his record. I said, ma'am, he's in kindergarten. He doesn't have a record. I said, but if it'll make you feel better, I sat down while she was there and I typed, this 5-day suspension will not have any impact on his academic record provided he does the homework that was given him over the 5 days that he'd be home. Typed it, signed it, gave it to her. She was happy. All right? Not taking mediocrity. Not taking it. Have your parents not take it at home. Talk to them. You don't have to take that. These are kids. Something I heard the other day, which is absolutely 100% correct. The only job of a child at this age is to go to school and do their work. Now, that's not a big deal of a job for somebody that's keeping a roof over your head, keeping the heat on, putting food on the table, and your only job is to go to school. Parents can say that to their kids. And if the kids don't believe it, okay, go on. You go keep the roof over the head, the food somewhere. Parents can say that. Teach optimism. Now, are you telling me 5 minutes because you're going to switch over, or 5 minutes and I'm done? 5 minutes to switch over. All right. Teach optimism because we are almost done. Oh, that's 2 now. Okay. The kids need to be optimistic, not pessimistic. Things are bad. Yes, they are, but they can always be worse. Things may be bad where they are, but it could be worse. It really could. And I've seen kids that are really literally raising themselves, and one of the reasons we get what they get is because they are raising themselves, so they're adult at home, they're taking care of their little brothers and sisters, so forth and so on, and when they get to school, they don't know how to turn off the adult hat. They don't know how to turn off the adult hat because they come at us like they're adults. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I do the same thing at home that you do. I take care of my little brothers and sisters. I wash them. I cook for them. I this, that, and the other. I put them to bed. I do the same things you do. So therefore, I can come at you like I'm an adult. Parents need to work with the kids on, they can be optimistic in terms of it will be a better day. One of the things I try to help the kids understand is, okay, you see what your situation is like now. I'm trying to give you the ticket as to how you don't have to be in this situation when you're grown. And that's through your education. One day I had one of my students last year, 8th grader, I pulled him in my office and I said, let me ask you a question, Tim. Can you see beyond the corner of Rosa Parks and Lafayette and Warren and Keene? And can you see anything beyond like throwing dice and the drug dealer? He looked at me, he said, Mr. Medley, no, I can't. He had no vision of what life could be like beyond that circumference. That's part of our job, is to help these kids understand there's a better life out there. Great, and you can do it, okay? Help them pay attention. It's not that the kids can't pay attention, they pay attention to what they want to pay attention to. I gave you the example of the kid with the PlayStation. He was wearing that game out with them phones. Watching and going, and he knew what defense to put on. He knew what offensive play to put in. So they can pay attention. They know how. They pay attention to what they want to pay attention to. Now, if you don't believe that, wait till they get to be like 16, 17, and they have to take the driver's test. They get real smart real quick when they have to study for that test. When they want to get their driver's license, they get smart real quick. Now, I don't know if they have somebody going there taking it for them or what. But there's some folks out here on the road that you actually passed that test. Yes. And yet you couldn't pass your test in language arts or whatever. That's the same kind of format, okay? So it's not a question of paying attention. The question is, do they want to pay attention? We're coming to the end of the tape, so he's going to switch that over. Feel free. Go ahead, please. Okay, we are at the slide now of encourage questions. We kind of talked about that. And if you do need to stand up, feel free. And no, there's certain questions I don't ask. I don't ask, is that your grandchild? I don't ask, are you pregnant? I don't ask none of that. I don't do none of that. Because I know. Because see, when I was in corporate, when I was at AT&T, during the holiday time, we'd have this big right on Christmas Eve, we'd have this big thing down in headquarters. And the guys would come in with these little kids. And they were my senior executives now, mind you. Hey, Mr. Such and Such, is that your grandson? That's my son. All right, that's why I don't ask that question. I made the mistake one time with a female of asking her was she pregnant, and she said no because that was just her weight. I don't ask that question no more. So no. There's just certain things I don't ask. All right, I don't assume and I don't say. But encourage questions with, have the kids question. There's nothing wrong with the kids questioning. Let them question and then say, okay, now that we talked about the answer, and have your parents have them question. A lot of times, it's not, don't do what I say. No, don't do what I do what I say. You can't ask me questions. Now, maybe back in the 20s or the 10 or 30s, maybe that was the deal. But now, in 2009, kids do question. All right? So let them question. And this is, of course, my favorite. Since I'm a reading specialist, and that is my passion, and everything I do, somewhere, even the things that I handed out to you, had something to do with the reading. Because on Saturday mornings at 6 o'clock a.m. at William Patterson University, I do a live talk radio show that's centered around reading. I have the opportunity to interview authors from all over the world. Matter of fact, my guest tomorrow morning is Newt Gingrich's daughter, Jackie Gingrich Cushman. She and her father, Newt, wrote a book called The 5 Principles of a Successful Life, so forth and so on. So tomorrow morning I'll be interviewing Jackie Gingrich. A few weeks ago I had Nikki Giovanni on the show. Interviewed Nikki Giovanni. Also had Cora Daniels. She wrote a book called Ghetto Nation. So I had the opportunity on Saturday mornings to talk to authors from all over the country, all over the world. You heard me talk about silent reading during 8:30 to 8:40 at School 10. Anything reading related, I push with a true passion, because my belief is if you don't read well, you can't do anything else well. I mean, I've heard crazy stories of a gentleman who couldn't read that was trying to get off somewhere on Route 80 and wound up in Ohio because he couldn't read his exit sign. All right? If you can't read well, you can't do anything else. Math, social studies, science, so forth and so on. So again, when my ex-wife at the time was pregnant, when she was carrying both of my children, they had this crazy little gimmick called a pregaphone. And what it was it looked like a big funnel on one end. It had a tube tied to it and a little funnel on the other that you can talk into. And I actually ordered the thing. It was in one of the parent magazines. I ordered it. It came. It was yellow. And I would actually put that on her stomach, and I would read stories into it while my kids were in the womb. So my kids were read to from the time they were into the womb, and as they, of course, when they were little, we used to read stories to them, and they're very good readers today. Encourage your parents to read to their children, and if they don't know how to read, find someone who does. I had a child in the office last night, 8th grade on the 2nd grade reading level. So we're putting together a remediation plan for him to start really reading kindergarten books. He's going to be reading Sesame Street, Bert and Ernie book, and I told him, look, don't do that here in school. You don't have to read Bert and Ernie in front of your kids, but when you go home, in front of your classmates. But when you go home, you pull out the Bert and Ernie flashcards. Encourage, yes sir, encourage the children to, or the parents to read to their children. Self-sufficiency. We have to encourage our parents to encourage their kids to think for themselves. Again, I use my parents all the time because they were my number one role models. They signed my yearbook because, again, mother and father, there for the entire first 18 years of my life, all I heard was think for yourself. If you see a fight, you go the other way. Don't go the way the crowd is running. You run the other way. You can't cut through the East Side lot. You have to walk down Rosa Parks Boulevard. But, Mom, all the rest of the kids are going through East Side. It's a shortcut, and you're not going that way. Think for yourself. They signed my graduation yearbook from high school. Remember with what we always told you. Think for yourself. Self-sufficiency. In other words, what we're saying is, encourage the parents to encourage their kids. Don't think in terms of a handout. Now, we'll give you a hand up or a leg up, but we're not going to give you a hand out. That's why, again, every word has power. At School 10, no one gives grades. Children earn grades. There's a difference in give and earn. So when a student comes running into my office talking about, Mr. Medley, Miss such gave me, hold it. They didn't give you anything. That's what you earned. All right, self-sufficiency. Provide time and a place for study. That's difficult for many of our parents. I know if you're living in 1 or 2 room apartments or whatever, but just a little space. Or if that you don't have the space at the home, again, the after-school program, the SES providers, some place that's consistent. Encourage the parents to have a place that child knows, this is my place for homework. When I come here, I'm coming here and I mean business to do homework, all right? Social reinforcement when your child behaves in an adaptive or desirable way. Again, that's reinforcing. Catch your child do something right. Teach the old-fashioned values. Everything doesn't have to go out just because it's 2009 and we have all this technology. Some of the old things do work. One of the things or problems I have with DIFUS to a degree is a lot of times DIFUS doesn't distinguish the difference between discipline and abuse. Right, there is a difference. I told you the BELT worked wonders with me and my sister, particularly if it came from my father. My mother, we kind of laughed at her, but my father, when he swung, we knew. Okay? Worked wonders. All right? Teach old-fashioned values. Relate schoolwork to real life. Okay? The mission over at School 10, and it's right in line with the district mission, is that we are working with our children on their character and their intellect to make them successful in life. I could care less about New Jersey Ask. I could care less about GEPA. I could care less about Terra Nova. I could care less about Dibbles, this, that, and the other. From the standpoint of it tells me or helps me, it guides me into what I need to teach. But in terms of I'm going to teach for the test, no, I'm not for that. I'm not teaching for a test. I'm teaching for these kids to be successful in their life beyond the school door. So, relate schoolwork to real life. Make it relevant for them. Why do you need to understand your time step? Why do you need to understand how to count change? Send the kid to the store with $1 and the thing is 75 cents and they bring you back, like nothing, something's wrong. Now kids understand that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff they get, all right? Case in point, yesterday when I was doing a lesson on tone, because the letters the kids wrote really was kind of strong. Do yourself a better. You better give us the prom. If I were you, I would do this because if you don't, really strong. I was at a table. How many of you in here have cable? Every hand went up. Who's your company? Optimum Online, DirecTV, Warner. I said, okay, let's use this example. And they caught right on to what I was talking about. Your cable gets shut off. Now you've paid the bill. It's not a money issue. It's not a payment issue. You've paid it. I said, now, you can write the customer service company or the CEO in a couple of different ways. And you can write and say, you better get my cable back on or else. Do yourself a favor, get your cable back on, get my cable back on. You could write it the same way you wrote those letters to me about or you could write in there, dear sir, I seem to have been having trouble with the great service that normally you provide. And because I know that's unlike you, that you're going to be willing to come out here and get my cable running as soon as possible. Because if you don't, I'm going to talk to 10 of my friends and let them know what a horrible service you provide. So I asked the child, which letter would you write? And the kid said, I'd write the second one. I said, why? Now we're having a discussion. Like I'm telling you, the kids will engage because they don't want to lose their reputation. Bingo. There is a way to be just as strong and just as forceful without being nasty, that the company still gets the message. They now, at that point in the lesson, they related something they knew about, which was cable, to the lesson that we had in there, which was to write an opinion or a persuasive letter. They linked it. Because what I shot back to the teachers was, why did you allow that to go? Because if you were writing a letter to PSE&G, AT&T, or any of these companies, you would not write a letter like that. So why are you letting them write one and say that's acceptable? Oh, we just glad we got them to write that much. An unacceptable answer. That's back to that pitying instead of pushing thing again. Oh, we're just glad that it was well written. Yes, it was. It was well written wrong. Okay? So, relate the schoolwork to real life. State your expectations up front. This is what I expect of you. Help your parents to tell their kids, I expect you to bring home an A. Now, maybe you won't do it, but that's the expectation. We started the year off at School 10. Everybody had an A, clean slate. When the kid walked in the door, everyone in this building has the A. The job is for you to keep it. And I'll tell you the thinking behind that whenever we set that expectation. Because people will fight to keep something quicker than they will to try to get something. So we started the mindset off with, all right, kid, you already have the A. It's your job to keep it, and it's our job to help you keep it. That's where we went with them. So I would walk through the hallways, and kids would, Mr. Medley, I still have my A. Mr. Medley, I still have my A. Mr. Medley, I still have my A. That was the mindset that was in there. We set the expectation right up front. You have your A. You have to keep it. It is the teacher's job to help you keep it. And every time you send us less than A work, guess what? Teacher going to give it back to you. Every time you give your teacher less than A work, we're going to give it back. You're going to do it again until you get the A. That way you keep your A. So we set the expectation right up front. Help your children build positive attitudes. We talked about that. Repeat these a zillion times. Pretty much that's the end of the presentation. Does anyone have